Bump.
Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I am Frederick Philip von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do tech good.
Boom! Chickadee, check yourself, son. Hey,
Hey,
if
chickadee,
you
what?
are a...
Oh, wait.
Huh?
EDM. Right? That's it. Yeah.
Hey, so do us a favor. Please subscribe. Go to the iTunes and give us a like review. That'd be super neato, nifty of you.
Only 5 stars. Only 5 stars.
Yeah, only 5 stars, or Brian will cut your hair. It's I don't want to say it's a threat, but it's happened to 3 people and it's terrible.
It's happened.
I
to
do
me.
a very
It's real
good
sad.
job. A very good job. I mean, I shave Frederick's head every couple of weeks. Yeah.
Every couple of weeks. It's a great barber. Look at that. Look at that.
Clean line. Look at that.
Beautiful. He
Oh
does
my
the edges and
gosh.
everything. I won't tell you all the details, but cut. I call him Mr. Scissorhands. Hey, we have an amazing show today. And I don't know if you guys know this. Technically, the show actually isn't video. This is CSS5 with Backbone. And there's a pin that you could check out. And our guest today will explain how all this works. We have UI, UX designer, front-end developer, Adam Kuhn.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, Adam.
So
Welcome.
much for having me. Pleasure to be here. I love listening to the show. So
Aw.
great to meet you all.
Just made my heart smile a little bit.
Oh, I love it. It's a great
Aw.
show.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
I'm so glad you love us.
Oh, my podcast time is way more limited than I would like, but you guys are in heavy rotation for me. So
Dadgum.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I like to hear.
Nice.
Hey, have you reviewed the show?
I don't know that I have reviewed the show.
Oh,
honestly.
that show's over. Show's
Oh my God. Or subscribe to iTunes or the old YouTubes.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, well, there you go.
I do need
We
to-
love you. You're back in the good graces. Adam, how the heck are you today?
Great. How about yourself?
A little bit better than excellent by a skosh.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah, did you have a good 4th?
Coach.
Pretty good 4th. How about yourself?
I had a good 4th, and I'm having an even better 5th now that I'm getting an opportunity to speak with you.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. My hat's off to you this whole time.
Aw.
Mhm.
He's not
So, you
wearing
guys
that.
sound so cute. Look at you all fanboying. It's adorable.
We're adorable, so thus then.
I love it.
Oh, jeez, guys.
Adam, let's go ahead and start a little bit with some context about you. You are from a cheese place, right?
I am from Wisconsin, the cheese place. Yes.
The cheese place. What's up with those cheese hats?
I couldn't tell you where they came from, but you can find them everywhere around there. As soon as you step foot in the airport, cheeseheads everywhere. So,
Have you worn one?
oh yeah, there's so many pictures of me with cheese.
Gosh, I need that in my life. I need to see that.
I never
I'm gonna dive through your Facebook just to find that.
Oh, feel free. Yeah, they're there. There's me with the cheese heads. There's my dog with the cheese head. There's
Oh, God.
everybody's got a
Wait, he's even wearing one now. If only you guys were watching the live feed.
I keep a little piece of cheese under my hat at all times.
What kind of cheese? Cheddar?
Are you a Munster man?
I'm a Munster man.
Nice. Love the Munster. That's the best kind of grilled cheese.
So how did you go from Wisconsin to here, though?
From Wisconsin to here. So I happen to actually work with my sister here at Big C, and she was the first to move down here.
Oh,
She said, I'm looking to do web stuff down in Florida. And when she got down here, she initially worked for Eckerd College, which is a
Oh, cool.
regional college, and wanted to branch out into doing freelance and ultimately opening her own agency. And she talked me into it. So I was kind of at a point in my life where it was either I'm going to make my home here in Wisconsin and stick around, or I'm going to have to get out of town now while the getting's good. And so that's what we did.
How old were you at that point?
This was like 12 years ago, so I was 14. No, I'm kidding.
14.
Yeah,
I was born in 2012.
yeah. No, I was 25 at the time, so that was kind of like I could bounce around the state of Wisconsin enough, but I was ready to head to warm.
Oh, were you one of those people that were like, "Oh, it's freezing here. I need the heat"?
I wasn't. It was definitely enticing, but I was so acclimated to it. And it's so funny now because when I go back, I'm like, we've made those trips in the winter where it's like, oh, I want to see the snow and experience this. And inevitably, every time it's below 0 temperatures. There's no snow on the ground. There's just like sheets of ice, and I can't take it. And unfortunately, like the good thing about Wisconsin is it's also known for really, really good beer. So it's, we spent 10 days up there once, and every day was below 0, or maybe it broke single digits a couple times. So I had an excuse.
Sounds wonderful.
Drink beer at 10 a.m. And that was my justification.
Doesn't that sound amazing, Frederick?
Yes, sir. I love the cold, Adam, and so does Brian. We both have quite an affinity for the cold weather. So yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Oh.
It must
What
be
about you,
nice
Janelle? Are you a cold weather, warm weather person?
No, but it must be nice.
Wait, so no for both?
No to everything.
I don't like weather.
I hate weather. All of the weather is terrible.
I love wet, cold, rainy weather.
But it must be nice to like be able to chill your beer outside.
That is
like
there was always that built-in beer cooler, which was open the door to the deck and all the beers go in the snow.
Oh man, speaking of beer, let's all have just a nice cheers.
Sorry, Janelle.
I know.
Janelle can pretend. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Happy 5th of July.
Mine's bourbon. What do you got over there, Adam?
Again, this is a New England IPA from Tired Hands Brewing, which is actually not from New England, but the style is known as New England IPA, which is why it looks like orange juice. So
Nice. I have a Harvey Wallbanger.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, nice.
It is wonderful.
Classy.
That's how I keep it. So, where were you when you made the decision to? Obviously, you were in Wisconsin, but where were you when you made the decision that, you know what, I am gonna go and I am gonna live down there with my sister, and I'm gonna start my career and my life over in Florida?
Sure. At that time, I was working. I actually had worked for AmeriCorps for 2 years, which is the domestic branch of the Peace Corps. So what I was doing at that time was working primarily in elementary schools, mentoring at at-risk youth. Pardon me, it's been a while. And then I was splitting my time between. I was working at a women's shelter. I was working at the Boys and Girls Club. All kinds of basically community service jobs that were offered to me through the AmeriCorps program. So after that program expired, there's a 2-year maximum on the program. And after that program expired, the local school district where I was living hired me on to continue my work there. But after a while, it got to be, I kind of wanted to jump back into my passion, which is what I'm doing right now. I have been actively designing web stuff since like the Adobe Go Live days, since the late 90s.
Oh god.
Oh man, so you were like back in the Macromedia.
Yeah.
Well, actually pre-Macromedia, because that was before Adobe and Macromedia kind of merged, or Adobe I think bought them.
I thought Go Live was Macromedia.
Go Live was Adobe. I don't know if they transferred that over, but yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was.
No, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Freehand, which was Macromedia.
Oh, okay.
And Go Live was totally different because Adobe's Dreamweaver was, or Macromedia's Dreamweaver was Adobe's Go Live.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you remember what a pain in the ass Go Live was?
It was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, but it was all kind of
Dreamweaver was better.
Wig-ish.
Yeah.
Dreamweaver a lot more. Yeah, it was
yeah.
like high level, but at the school where I was going, like Go Live was what we were learning. So.
You were doing it back when you had to make the your corners had to be their own little container if you wanted rounded edges.
Yeah. That's how it was. There were all the frames, and then there was like a lasso tool that I remember. It was like a little elastic kind of like lasso.
Not the good old days at all.
No. Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, I wanted to ask you this question, and I'm so excited about it because there's so many people. I'm so excited, Brian. I'm gonna punch somebody. That so many people we speak to get their start because they start. Oh no, what? Because they start off from designing a website for a friend's band or their band, and I see. Sorry, Janelle just had a stroke, everybody. That's what that sound was. If you're a audio listener.
I do have my drums up at the office.
Yes, I did just have a stroke.
She's fine now, though. Obviously, you can hear her speaking. But so many of those people start off making those websites and flyers for their band, and I see that you're a drummer, and I'm so excited to hear about if that's how you kind of got your start in the industry.
That definitely is. The first and actually one of the first band site I ever did still lives because it's a tripod domain, which still exists. So yeah, I'm not going to point anyone to it because it's
What?
We'll have links in the show notes, everybody.
No, it's a lot of fun to look back at. There's a guest book that's now defunct that was hosted somewhere at one point, back when guest books were the hot thing. But designing for bands was definitely like, that was my playground. And, you know, like where Codepen has become my playground now, that was where I got to just do whatever I wanted to. It wasn't like client work. I didn't have anyone to impress but myself and my friends. So it was like, go out and, you know, band website number one was definitely a go live website that was moved to the tripod domain, and then band site 2 was pure Flash, which so I was a Flash dude, and I still miss certain aspects of Flash, which those gaps are being filled in.
Oh yeah, Flash was so much fun. Yeah, I did a lot of my band sites with Flash and my friends' band sites, and it's funny because I've always had quite a connection with drummers, because as the singer, I was always the guy that would help out the drummer since I didn't have any instruments myself. So I always had a good relationship in that aspect.
Yeah, I've definitely been in those bands before where the singer likes to help out, or they like to stand on my drum kit and knock it over at mid-set. Like that.
And he gets so angry. So thanks for pointing it out.
I punched the toms right in the face.
Oh yeah. I Hulk out really hard too. I'm a really angry person. So.
I bite the snare. Come on, you snare.
I can sense the anger. Yeah. You seem actually the exact opposite of that.
Adam, Janelle had an amazing question for you about your Twitter handle.
Sure.
I did. So, Cobra Winfrey, first and foremost, I'm going to take this time to thank you for introducing me to Codepen. You don't know that you did, but you did.
Oh, wow. Kevin Bacon.
Thank you. So, fun fact, your sister actually came to speak to us when I was learning how to code at the Iron Yard.
That was at Develop It.
Yeah, no, the Iron Yard. Yeah, no, there was more men there than there were women. I think we had 2 women, 2 or 3. I can't remember.
Girl Develop It too, which was at the Iron Yard facility.
Oh, word?
That's what. Yeah. So
nifty.
She's been really involved in nurturing the environment.
She's amazing. By the way, we totally need to get her on her because she is a badass woman. Just saying. But that's neither here nor there right now. But yeah, she was like, yeah, he's literally on the front page of Codepen every week. And I was like, what is Codepen? What is this thing? And she like pointed us to it, right? And I was completely enamored by all of your stuff because she was, you know, very, very proud of you and bragging about you. And so from then on out, I was like, follow Adam's all the things all the time. So thank you. But yeah, so how did you even start off with this name that's like Oprah Winfrey, but like better? How did you do that?
Gonna bite you.
I want it to be some combination of G.I. Joe.
This actually stemmed from mid-college days with sitting at an apartment with friends of ours back in Wisconsin when it was too cold to do anything else. We would sit and drink beer and play a this was WWF wrestling still at the time, N64 game that allowed you to name your wrestlers. So we would each try to come up with the most ludicrous names that we could. And I honestly wish that I still had that because it's just like a dearth of amazing names, that screen names that could just be used over a variety of platforms. But Cobra Winfrey has been in use by me since probably the 90s. So it's
wow.
It's like as old as these hills, you know. It's just been.
It's embedded in you.
Oh, it is. I'm one with Cobra Winfrey now.
Did you have a band at all called it?
I did not, but funny story. Some band reached out to me out of the blue on Twitter. They were called the Callous Dowboys. And they asked if they could use my name as the title of a song. So I'm looking for that now because this was about a month ago, and I know that these things take time. So I'm keeping my eyes out for them to release a song called Cobra Winfrey. So.
Oh my gosh, that That's going to be amazing.
If you don't have any other story to tell your great-grandchildren when you're 385, that's the one.
That's it. Yeah. That'll be something they'll be proud of. That'll carry on through the queue.
Tell us that again, great-grandpa.
That's right.
Posterity.
Why do people live till 305 now?
It's all about screen name selection. Absolutely.
So how did you make that transition? You're in Florida.
Uh-huh.
You are a possibly ex-drummer. Maybe you're looking for a band again.
Yep.
How did you get into what you're doing now? How did you get onto those tracks and start down that career? It turned into a rowboat. I don't know why, but I'm in mixed metaphors. Help me out.
Sure. It's been a wild ride because I basically dipped out of working on web for a couple of years upon moving down here because as it turned out, my sister was still working on getting the agency off the ground and really building it. And she was still supporting herself at Eckerd and working at building kind of on the side in her own time. And then she kind of struck out on her own and was just kind of a one-woman operation at the time. I don't think she was really ready to onboard additional people at that time. It was more of like a freelance basis. So I spent a couple of years down here working in the fire safety industry. I'm the guy who would like tag your fire extinguisher to make sure that things are up to code.
Thank you.
And so you're welcome. Yeah, I was just kind of looking out for everybody. But it was more of a, well, I'm going to move down here. I saved a bunch of money before we left so that I knew we'd be comfortable for a little bit. But I was like, I'm going to take the first job that I can get. We had a mutual friend that did this. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to work on this for a little while I kind of brush up my skills and get ready to transition over to this. And then ultimately, she expanded the operations enough to be able to take me and a few other people on. And I believe that I've been with Big C longer than any other employee here at the time. So it's been a wild ride. And I'm really, really fortunate to be at a place. And y'all had Autumn on, I guess, a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see the kind of caliber of great people that we get to work with. So it's very just inspiring to walk into the office and see a room full of friends every day. So.
Oh yeah, if you could measure it by people like Autumn or the average in your company, then I'd say you're in great company. Company.
Absolutely. So.
And at Big C, you do Drupal development, is it?
No.
WordPress.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
It's all CSS and JS all day long for us. So. Yeah.
So CSS and JS, do you use any frameworks?
No, we don't do CSS and JS. We don't really work with CSS and JS.
All Bootstrap.
All Bootstrap. No, I mean, yeah, primarily WordPress development. We dabble in Expression Engine here and there. We kind of, as far as CMS goes. Sometimes I regret that we've ever touched Expression Engine.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah. So that wasn't necessarily my call, but I'm strictly like front end. I'm a CSS, JS, HTML guy. I deal with PHP when I have to because I'm working with WordPress. But as far as the back end stuff goes, we've got guys to handle that, and that's how I like it. So.
Have you all started to get into Gutenberg at all, or played around with it, or?
We are getting there, and that's like the new blog post that's coming. Like we're starting to get acclimated with it. Right now, there's so many like different builders out there, and we have clients that bring us sites that are constructed wholly of these things, and it's
oh yeah, those are a nightmare.
It's very difficult to get around, but there's a reason for them, and I'm hoping that Gutenberg kind of fills that gap a little bit. So
yeah, it's exciting times for WordPress.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of movement, and this is a great region to be in if you're working with WordPress, because there's so many like core developers and people that are
really
such a firm hand in building the core itself and working. There's a lot of plugin developers that live around the area, so it's a great place to network and really get those answers. There's some great local meetup groups.
I think we're going to see some really big changes for WordPress in the next 2 years.
They're approaching 5.0. I can't wait to see what happens there. So it should be interesting. I'm hoping all my sites don't break.
Yeah, there are a ton of like CMS devs over in St. Pete area, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually have a really weird question for you. It's actually not that weird. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, so I really, really love how Big C changes their like main website every couple of months or so, or maybe every other year, or however. It's actually pretty often, which is pretty cool. Who designs those? Because they are pretty killer.
I believe that the majority of the design was left to. We have two design leads. We've grown to the point as a company that we've split into two teams, and each team has a design lead. Site in its most current iteration, I believe, was really a perfect like amalgamation of the two design leads coming together and making that happen. So we've got a gentleman named Rich Lim, who's the design lead for my team, and we've got another woman named Adriana Generalo, and they are both just stunning. The stuff that they put out is, we have clients that come to us, and this is the one thing that really gets me. And I actually started with C more on the design side of things than I did working with code. But one of the things that always stuns me with the both of them is like we have clients come to us with just like the worst assets. They've got the ugliest logo. We've had clients that come in with like, we want you to use all these custom illustrations that my 12-year-old nephew drew or something like that. And it's just,
I've been there.
Yeah, and it's not good. But these guys have this way of polishing the turd, as I call it, where they're able to like massage all these awful elements into something that's really workable and good. And I like that's one of their really big strengths. I think I'm constantly impressed by the way they're able to work with raw assets that are just not good and make something just workable and beautiful out of them. So
well, speaking of making things beautiful, you make things beautiful
thank you.
all of the time. Not including. Did you make Frederick? Did you make Frederick? Frederick is a creation of just CSS, y'all. You didn't know that, but he is CSS incarnate.
In SAS.
It's just a big block of checkboxes and toggles.
Yeah, you make like beautiful things out of code, and also you make turds out of code, which is hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's actually like a kind of a good story to share. Is like one of the turds that I made out of code was actually it was a swirling bunch of poop emojis.
Yeah,
and that was the result. The reason that happened is because I went to join the Great American Teach-In at my daughter's school to work with a group of, they were fourth graders at this time, and to kind of talk to them about what I do and what my work is. And obviously the fun thing is not going to be show them, like how we build websites and what they do for whatever client that we're working with. The fun thing is to dive right into Codepen and show them how code works and show them how to, sketch out a little element and show them how to manipulate that element. So I've got kids calling out to me from every side. They want, like, all right, so let's pick an emoji to use, so we don't have to like, I don't have time to hand code like an image out of CSS or something like that. So like immediately the first emoji is the poop emoji. So they want that. Then they want it to be a rainbow poop emoji, and then they want it swirling around. It was quite the like chaotic experiment, but they had such a blast. And I like, my daughter came the next day, had come home from school and told me that there were like kids that were still talking about those poop emojis flying around and how they wanted to try to do that. So in my mind, like ideally I've inspired like a bunch of fourth graders to go move poop emojis around on Codepen or something. So that's how they started. So
I love that. That's amazing.
yeah.
That was literally one of my favorites. I thought it was adorable.
I love that story. When did you actually start making these pens? What and what inspired you to get into the Codepen community?
Sure. So initially Codepen for me was like a tool for just like testing out client stuff. And right off the bat, when I found out what a wonderful environment it was to work with and how just out of the box, everything that I needed from my front end perspective, like was just available at my fingertips there. I had to convince the powers that be, like we need a group like pro account so that I can work, because with a pro account, I can set my pens to private so that I can work, unseen, so I can work on client stuff without putting it out there publicly, because I don't want to show that stuff off necessarily without their permission. So initially it was for client work, just for ease of setup. So it was a lot of sharing proof of concepts of like buttons or hovers or things like that. Then I started getting more into the challenge groups. So there's the Creative Coding Club, which is a really great supportive group. they've been a little quiet as of late. They recently changed hands, and there's been a lot of other similar groups that have kind of popped up. There was daily CSS images. There was daily UI. I've got just pens on top of pens that were just challenges, because oftentimes I need a little prompt like that. But those prompts, they prompt me to learn more, to keep pushing, to really bend the boundaries of what's possible with CSS. So that's really how I got into it, and I started sharing these things, and I started integrating with the communities of other people that were working on these, and ultimately I've just found that it's been a really rewarding, supportive community. There's so many folks out there that are just like, I just read comments on my pens, and it's just like, oh, you might want to try this approach to fix this small glitch or whatever, and it's just like these are tools that are just like constantly building, and I hold on to this stuff, and it's really nice. Like, everybody's just friendly. It's very positive. There's multiple Slack channels now of people sharing things. Codepen has started a Spectrum chat, which is really awesome, just supportive. They're doing their own challenges now, which is, I'm surprised that they're finally now just doing them, but they've been just great too. So that's what really prompts me, is those challenges.
Did you start working on, what is it, the current one? Is it The Office? Is that the current one?
Yes. I did not start working on the Office one. I am just so overwhelmed with work right now that it's like having 4th of July and having that day off in the middle of the week has been so disruptive for me, so because these are my like one quick exercise before I go to bed, and like, that's almost everything I do in Codepen is like a 10 p.m. off. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to spend 20 minutes here. I've some ideas just enter my brain, and then it's 11:30.
So that's interesting. So you're just, when you do this, you're doing this maybe like once or twice a week at like 11 o'clock?
Yeah. I mean, most of the time it's at night. Every once in a while I'll have like an idea just enter my head, something like, well, what if I did this with this or whatever, and I'll open up a pen on my lunch break and just like start the framework, like lay something down just so I hold on to that concept, just so I remember it. I have a light sketch to work with. But yeah, that's, most of it is kind of like how I burn my nighttime, and I often wake up very, very tired because my typical morning is 5:30 a.m.
I went to your first Codepen. That's not bad. What date do you think it was?
That's a good question.
Don't look. You're looking. Stop it. What? Like, just guess. Like,
probably like 2 years ago or so. Like, probably the first thing that's public. I know there's definitely a lot of stuff I deleted.
December 14th, 2015.
2015. Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah, it is New Dynamic Energy Adventures Growth, like typography laid out with waves.
Yeah. So that was an internal Big C project for an email. So that was working on animation, which was, I think, maybe working with SVG animation that was then converted to a GIF to share in an email. So
is that the?
Yes.
Darn it! I keep hitting my mute button.
No, that's a GIF. GIF. That's the pronunciation. GIF. Yes.
Oh no. Is it the cool logo one with the leaves and the waves in the background?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I love that one.
Slightly later. Yeah, that was actually a client job too. Before I had a pro account, so I couldn't hide it. A client that and I actually used Codepen to share that with them, and I think they enjoyed that. So
I've literally showed that to 20 people. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it the Sun and Sea logo one?
That's the one. Yeah. Yep. So, and we still work with them. They're great.
Yeah, I've cataloged and memorized all of your Codepens.
No big deal. We're just super fans.
Awesome.
We're both just fangirling here. No big deal.
Great.
So, what's your technique when working with Codepen? What do you do to get started? Like, do you have like a template you follow, or?
I have a handful of templates. Like, one of the ones I use a lot is I have a cube template because once I got like playing with 3D CSS, I started doing different staggered animations with cubes. One thing that I find myself doing a lot of is using SAS loops to just offset my animations and things like that. And it really just opens a world of like interesting things that can be done. but yeah, I have a whole series of cubes dancing around in various ways. Animation is really my jam, so I spend more time animating than anything else.
How did you get into animation specifically? What was that inspiration to say, this is what I find very interesting, I'm gonna go down this path?
I think those Flash days, like, really, once I started working with Flash, like keyframe timeline style animation, that really was impetus for me. I've always been interested, and in high school, in my art classes, we had, like, when I was in high school, we had one really expensive computer camera that was capable of shooting frame by frame, like, animated shots so that we could do stop motion. And for my senior project, like, another classmate and I, like, made, like, a whole, like, elaborate stop motion hand drawn animated feature. So I think ever since then, I've always just been really fascinated with animation in general, and, like, the general principles of animation. I really look to, as far as, like, industry leaders, I really enjoy the work that Val Head does.
I was going to ask you if you were into Val Head.
Yeah. Val just does great work. She did a talk down here at the front end conference.
Yeah,
that was really just spoke to me. So, and a lot of that just really incorporates, like, Disney's principles of animation and stuff. And so, it's always been something that's really interested me. And the more that I kind of study animation incorporation and UI UX, the more I'm sold on its value. And I've integrated with some great communities of fellow Codepen members that just push this. One of them I was just recently commenting on was the Keyframers, Stephen Shaw and David Korsheed, who's out in Orlando, out your way, Janelle, I believe. Are you out that way, Orlando?
I am.
You are, okay, yeah. So David's out there, but those guys do a nightly show that comes on right after yours on a Thursday night. And they do
really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. They're called the
Keyframers. Now we know what your Thursday nights are.
Yeah. No, that's how I burn them all off. So.
That should be everybody's Thursday night. Everybody's Thursday night.
That's right. So I spend a lot of time just kind of integrating with those people and checking into what they're doing. They do a neat job of pulling down animations from Dribbble, and then they break them down every week and show you how they achieve that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's inspiring.
It is, and they'll allow you to kind of nominate your animations for the week, so people come at them with some pretty perplexing and interesting things, but they have neat approaches to them. Definitely an inspiration for me. So,
do you think that animation at all is overdone sometimes, like on website? Yeah.
That's a really good question, and that is, like, it's really hard to straddle that line of, like, you don't want to animate for the sake of animating. It's not like, well, I made this move because I could, and there's always, like, performance considerations to be made. I always try to animate with purpose, and this is not really necessarily conveyed with my pens, because obviously those are animation for the sake of animating. It's to see what I can do, but when it comes to site work, I'm not trying to get overzealous with it. So I take a small fraction of what I've taught myself by, like, fooling around in Codepen and just animating things left and right, and just take a small thing that might work and apply that, in calls to action. Sometimes there's, new ways that I can work with sliders. I just got done rebuilding the nav on the Big C site and had the opportunity to throw in some really nice offset animations there that I thought came out really well.
I like that a lot.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
You've also, like, come out with, like, really cool, like, interesting toggles, which is really cool. So that's really fun. Like, how do you get some of these inspirations, though? To find, like, weird food kind of toggles and stuff like that. Where are you finding this stuff, if you don't mind sharing with everybody? Because we want to know how cool you are.
It's all in his brain, Janelle.
Yeah.
No resources. It's all him.
No, none at all. So
I get the Akashic records and I just channel it.
That actually, as a very specific question, like, is really easy for me to point to, and I'm happy to do it because I like to call out my inspiration as much as I possibly can. And the food toggles, I think the first time I saw an instance of somebody doing something like that was Chris Gannon, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Chris Gannon, but he's worth looking up absolutely on Codepen and Dribbble. His work is just astounding. But in the first one that he did was an egg that simply flipped over.
Oh yeah.
And part of what's so masterful with Chris's work, and what I really appreciate, and what I really appreciate about any truly good animation, is he works the easing so well. And that to me is like a key, like fundamental aspect of like really nailing down animation, is to have the easing functions worked out.
Mhm.
Something flips over with a sense of gravity and weight that you expect from it. Linear easing almost never works in any instance to convey that sort of feeling. So
All the default easing.
all the default, for the most part, easing out like works fine if you need a button hover or something like that. But when you're trying to flip an egg, you're going to want to use a cubic Bezier or something. I know for his pens, a lot of the time he's using the Green Sock library, which is absolutely stunning. So
Val Head actually went into, if you don't mind me interjecting real quick, about this subject with easing, and she was talking about the book from Disney where they kind of decipher how naturally things animate.
yeah.
Illusion of life.
Sorry?
The illusion of life.
Exactly, and how they employed that for the early animation, the actual drawing animation, and how you could leverage that for what we're doing today on the web.
Sure. And it's great because, and I remember her actually sharing that book when she spoke here. She had a copy of it, which is like next to impossible to nail down. And there's reprints that are fine, and there's PDF format versions of them all out there. So, I mean, you have access to the material, but it was really neat that she had, I believe, an original copy. But what's so cool about that is those are time-tested principles that just have held up for so long. And it's really neat to see like a master's work like that, and the way that you can take those tools and apply them over the span of decades, and they still just hold up in a totally different foreign technology that Disney would have anticipated upon writing that book. So,
and I'd also recommend the Animator's Survival Kit. It's another really good one.
That one's new to me. That would be.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Awesome.
Yeah, I used to want to do 3D animation. I did a lot of 2D animation when I was younger, and so I was really into it. And I have the Illusion of Life and the Animator Survival Kit.
Nice.
They're really great.
Do you ever work in 3D at all, or?
Not anymore. Occasionally, I'll open up Blender and do some like little bit of modeling and sculpting, and then I'll be like, okay, well, don't
I
have
used to
any more.
use Bryce back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did Bryce Carrera. Yeah, I was really big in the Carrera community. I don't know if either one of you have heard of it.
Yeah.
I actually helped publish a magazine. I had a really big website back in the day. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Adam, I know Janelle has a super interesting question she wants to ask you, and we're getting dangerously close to the end, so I want to make sure she has to get it in.
Let's hear it.
I'm like, to be honest, I'm like staring at this Chris Gannon Codepen and kind of like gagging.
Yeah.
Gagging, jeez.
Well, okay, have you never I feel like the last time I talked to a big C person, which was
Autumn.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes, Autumn. I don't know why I wanted to call her Amber in my brain. I was like, why do I want to say Amber? Amber is not her name. Anyway, we were talking about drag, and like now I'm talking about drag again. But like gagging is like a thing that's like, it's like you're so shocked that you like you're gagging. It's like. Anyway, it's like gagging. Like it's like amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm gagging, right? Like it's a thing.
There's a lot of every morning when I come in.
We don't get it.
There's a good 20 minutes of RuPaul drag race recap, like between my coworkers. At some point, I'm going to start watching the show because I want to know what they're talking about. But
you need to watch the show. It's amazing. It is so good. Watching men wear like 9-foot tall heels and just look amazing and or ridiculous is the best thing ever. Like they are so fantastic, and they are prettier than I will ever be in my lifetime, and it is amazing. I love it.
I get the same kind of thing as when I watch Jersey Shore, so I feel you. Never gonna be as pretty as the
Nikki.
And I'm so here just to hear Janelle laugh.
Janelle has the best laugh.
That's She's actually my alarm clock just every morning.
She's my
Same
ringtone.
That is a great ringtone, yes.
Same though. I mean, it's very frightening and alarming to wake myself up like that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to stop doing that.
When I hear that, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a good morning. Little Maxwell House and Janelle. Best part of waking up. Sorry, Janelle.
One of our viewers needs to do like a clip, like a YouTube like video of just all your laughs. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh. If someone did that, not only would I be very excited, but also I would be kind of startled.
Brian, you're welcome.
Oh no.
Ahead of time, you're welcome.
Oh my gosh. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Oh yeah. And get ready to download the Janelle ringtone from our website in about 2 or 3 days. That's happening too. I know how to do that. Pretty easy.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm going to tweet it out. Download the Janelle laugh ringtone now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Adam, I actually have a pretty simple question for you. Maybe not so simple, but
A dinosaur's real.
Yes. That's maybe a next one for the rapid fire questions coming up soon. But I actually want to know where can people like meet you in person, right? Like I know that you do some conferences. Yes, we want to know where you live. No, like I know you go to a couple conferences and you run the Codepen meetup in St. Petersburg.
Sure.
But what other kind of places can people like hang out with you and
that really is the best way, probably. If I'm throwing a meetup, I try to blow it up as much as I can. But the more support that I can get at a Codepen meetup, the happier that I am. I am not probably cut for the conference circuit myself. I'm not much of a speaker, believe it or not. So that's not totally my jam. But the Codepen community really has been my jam. So it's fun to host the meetups. So that's probably the best way. Ideally, I would love to get to every meetup of the Suncoast Developers Guild. We really have a great community around here. And there's fantastic people doing fantastic things. Front-end conference every year for the past several years. I've been there and I would not miss it. It's such a great event, and what Dan has done with that and what the rest of those guys have done taking it over to is it's just been phenomenal. So yeah, Gene and those guys, like the Unmatched Style Boys, like just awesome. So every year that's really a highlight to me. I kind of just block out that week and I know it's gonna be awesome and I'm gonna come away inspired, having met and networked with a ton of great people that keep me wanting to just push forward and expand my own skill set. So yeah, I mean, if people ever want to sit down and just talk, geeky code stuff, I'm happy to go to any local brewery and just have a drink and, shoot the breeze. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So share a beer with Adam. You heard it here, y'all.
Oh, new meetup. Share a beer with Adam.
Right.
Yes.
Extended, absolutely. So.
That could be your podcast name.
Oh my God.
Done.
I love that. Hey, Brian.
Sister podcast.
Hey, Brian.
He's shining a light on me. It's like a spotlight. Oh my God. That's the cue for we're getting close to the end, Adam. So we have a few more questions for you. Mine, I call a spotlight. It's kind of a focus question.
Okay.
And this week it's kind of interesting because Frederick started out the pre-show talking about how he's had problems sleeping, and I have not been sleeping for I don't know that well for 5 or 6 days. There might have been someone that I don't know retired that kind of affected me that made me not be able to sleep. We're not going to talk about that, but
oh geez.
Yeah, and
it didn't rhyme with hot fruit, did it?
But the question is, how do you fall asleep? Or what do you do to help yourself fall asleep when you can't sleep, like when you have insomnia? It's a group question. I'm going to go first. Mine is I take a bath and read a book.
Ew.
Reading, right? Oh yeah, you
image in my head.
Yeah, reading.
It was the bath. It was the bath.
Since it was like
definitely the
bath
book.
water. Oh,
it was definitely the book.
Are you reading Fabio?
Always, yeah.
one of those love
romance novels.
Yeah, the romance novels.
I do love
Somebody
them,
pull my beautiful long blonde hair. I am Fabio.
I do love romance novels, so
I happen to love that.
It's those happy endings.
For those of you that are listening to the podcast and not watching currently, which you should be, Brian has a Thunder Nerd shirt on, which says that he loves romance novels. If you are a true fan, you know what that means because you listen to the very, very end of every episode.
On that note, Frederick, how do you fall asleep?
Oh, man, when I can't fall asleep, I listen to some hypnosis. I have this. Let me pull it up, and I can tell you exactly what it is because it makes me fall asleep. There's all these kinds of different prescribed sessions that they have. Like they have one on. Oh no, that's my game storming book, but it's let me see if I could find it. I'm not going to find it right away. Anyway, there's things on like a quick way to fall asleep, and they just kind of walk you through falling asleep.
Okay.
And there's things where they talk about, oh, you're in a room, and this room is this, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's funny if you actually do listen to it, which I never do. I usually fall asleep within the first, I don't know, minute or 3 of listening to it. It's so good. But one time I actually woke up in the middle of it and like I heard the lady talking and she's like, so in a vision, now you're at your own funeral. I'm like, what the
what?
To?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is crazy.
It's part of the thing. And it's like, and she starts saying these things that don't make any sense, but I guess that's all part of the hypnosis. But it works. Sleep in 3 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that would be so terrifying. I'd be like, I'm just gonna be awake for the next 3 days.
You know what? I would be afraid, but the thing is, I fall asleep.
True.
I mean, sure, I wake up, my hands are green, I'm covered in lava, but I don't know what happened the next day. But I got a great sleep. 8 hours, rock solid. Boom, Janelle, how do you sleep?
So for me, actually, lately it's been watching roller skating videos. Because I've actually been super into roller skating pretty recently. Adam's like literally the only one who comments on my roller skating, by the way, y'all.
I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah, so I'll watch videos on like how to do this new trick, right? And I get so excited about wanting to accomplish that trick the next week that I actually I get so excited that I kind of like knock myself out.
Wait, roller skating or roller derby?
No, like just roller skating.
Okay.
Yeah, just with the 4 quad wheels.
I feel like you'd be awesome at roller derby.
I don't think so. I feel like if I were to elbow someone in the face, I would immediately turn around, apologize, and then get elbowed in the face myself.
No, you'd be like, what was her name in that? There was a movie. Was it Drew Barrymore who was in it?
Yeah.
But,
oh yeah, no, that wasn't Drew Barrymore, but yeah, I know the movie you're talking about.
Ellen Page, was it?
Ellen Page. That's it.
Yeah. You just it's inside you, Janelle. It's inside you.
Maybe once I get it and I'm not in the 9-year-old class at the skate park, I'll definitely try that.
Speaking of old movies, I'm so impressed that you know Better Off Dead, Adam.
Oh, I'm such a wealth of terrible information that will never get me anywhere.
Such a great movie. Adam, how do you fall asleep?
So speaking of movies are how I fall asleep. I can
Horror.
I can put on any film that I actually like. If there's anything I actively want to see, then I'm gonna fall asleep, and that's how it goes. So any movie that I'm like semi-invested in, something that I've been wanting to see, if I'm even just the slightest bit tired, or if it's like around that time, I'm gonna fall asleep. See,
I cannot ever movies, anything that'll keep me up all night. I can't do it.
Yeah. The last film that I watched before bedtime, I watched over the course of 8 nights because it was so much okay. And then there's this fast forwarding where when do I get to the part? Did I see this? I can't remember. Did I fall asleep at that point? I half saw that. I'll wake up and see a crucial plot point, 3/4 into the film that will just wreck the rest of it for me, and then I got to move on to the next one. But I've been watching the same movie for the last 6 nights now.
Which movie?
The one that I've been watching now has been The Burbs because they put that back on.
Oh, The
Amazon, which
Burbs.
I love. So, and that one works well for me because it's familiar, so I'm not too worried about missing it. But I'm still like semi invested because it's been so long since I've seen it. So, I've been stretching that out. But I started watching A Quiet Place the other night too, and that was like
It's
very quiet. And usually, like
it's
the intensity.
good movie.
Yeah, but
I like that movie a lot.
Isn't that the one with the commercials where everyone's doing this?
It probably is.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's
the commercial.
Oh, okay.
It's the guy from The Office playing very strongly against Pipe. So.
Oh, okay.
We'd all be dead right now.
I'd punch one of those monsters right in the face.
The monster.
A monster. No, a Munster cheese.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the monsters. I was like,
Oh,
I hate those guys. Those were the
I would
worst.
shoot one of those monsters in the face with guns.
Very rapidly.
Right?
Shoot him in the face. Rapidly.
We're really good at segues, by the way, here. That is like
I
a
wrote
one
them
strong
many
suit.
times on. So I know how to use it.
Best ever segue.
Alrighty, so that means that it's time for rapid fire, where we ask you all the questions that we didn't get to ask you, but super quickly. You ready for this, Adam?
I think so. Let's try.
Alrighty. And it could be like anything. So, I mean, be prepared.
Got it.
Because these are terrible or amazing. I'm just preparing you. So, all right.
That leads me to
Trepidation.
Go. Where is your hat from?
Question.
Mail ordered. Amazon.
What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Ren and Stimpy.
Hot dog or hamburger?
I don't eat meat, but I would trend towards a veggie burger over a veggie dog.
Favorite hex color?
222.
Favorite CMYK color?
000 0.5.
Oh my god.
Dang.
WordPress or Drupal?
Oh, WordPress.
Favorite kind of animal?
Manatee.
Web animation hero or heroine?
Oh, geez. I might go with Val on that one, actually.
Nice, the Val head.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever had Alton Brown's meatloaf recipe?
Jesus, every fucking podcast.
I have not. So let's reiterate. I haven't eaten meat for almost 20 years now. So
I mean, you could totally make a veggie version of it.
Yeah.
I haven't had it.
It's wonderful. Brian brought it to me at work one day, and I was just, wow.
He passed out on the floor, pieces of the meat coming out of his mouth.
I hope
Did you say wonderful, by the way?
I did. That's a new word.
Did you,
Okay.
Did you Sharpie all over his face after that happened?
Oh, I did. And that's what his beard is. It's just layer after layer of Sharpie. It looks full because it's just that much Sharpie. Yeah.
It's just stringy.
By the way, this episode is sponsored by
Sharpie.
Sharpie. Is it in you?
Oh my gosh. Next question. First thing you do when you go to work. Like when you arrive at work.
Start the coffee.
Adam, didn't you wear that shirt the day after yesterday?
I probably did.
I think you did.
There's an inside chance, yes.
Cereal or toast?
Cereal.
All right. This one's a big one. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
Okay. Do you
No,
like...
I'm not ready. Sorry.
Oh, sad day. Then pass. If he's
All
not
right.
ready,
Wait,
pass.
Not ready.
It's a big
No.
one.
Adam, if you saw a ghost in your house, what would you do?
Eat it.
What if it was made of meat, though, Adam? You don't know.
Eat it to
It's-
meat ghost.
It's ethereal. It's not-
Hashtag meat ghost, everybody.
What is the movie you watch when you're not feeling well? Like your sick movie?
My go-to movie, like that I watch all the time, like the one that I can always watch, besides Ghostbusters, which is just
Yeah.
flawless. And hopefully you guys have seen this, but Hamlet 2. I
Oh
love,
my God, I love Amy
that.
Poehler's amazing in that.
She's so good. She's so good, and it's such a good and super underrated film, I think. So, like for some reason, like I just take comfort in that movie. So,
Love that.
Aw. What's your favorite Slack community?
my favorite Slack community is probably the Animation at Work channel run by Rachel Neighbors, who is also a fantastic wealth of animation information. So,
Favorite anime?
favorite anime? Anything Ghibli. I actually like, so right here, if you can see it, I have a Totoro tattoo.
Oh, nice.
Not difficult to show, but yeah, like I just am nuts about the Ghibli stuff. So
I was just watching Kiki last night.
I love Kiki.
Wow, that's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your favorite too?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Totoro's
Are you
still probably my
all-
favorite, but are we
Are you all like best friends with Jason Perry?
Yes.
No, I
Yes,
love
we
Jason.
hang out with Jason Perry every day and have coffee.
Okay, heard that.
Is he a big Ghibli guy too, or?
He's like a huge Totoro fan, like
Oh, that's fantastic.
huge.
Yes.
It was like literally all over our classroom all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. He's a great guy.
What's the worst smell ever?
Cauliflower, like bad cauliflower. Just oh god.
Aww.
Yeah, not
That sounds like sad because like cauliflower's bad.
I just thought of I've never had cauliflower go bad.
oh, when it starts to get like even just a little bit funky to me, it's like poison, just so bad. So.
Oh, sad day. Well, I think that's it for rapid fire. I think we went.
Oh,
made
man,
it
I
all
have
the way
one more
around.
question.
I did it.
Oh wait, go for it. Go for it.
Who do you relate to the most in Uncle Buck?
The Kevin McAllister character, Macaulay Culkin.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine isn't a rapid fire, but I'm curious. Do you like the Beyond Burger or the Impossible Burger more?
I prefer the Impossible, and a lot more places around here are getting that. which is
Yes,
awesome.
I'm obsessed with it. Ask Frederick.
He is. He
It's so
loves
good.
that.
It's so good. It's
Yeah, I was a vegetarian for like 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I keep debating going back, but then there's steak.
that steak, like in the grand pantheon of meats that I have enjoyed, I never had a steak in my meat eating days that I really enjoyed. So like that's something I've never fondly looked back on. But barbecue meats were a big thing for me. So like I was way into those. If I ever resumed that,
You can make some pretty good vegetarian barbecue ribs.
Absolutely, yep. So jackfruit does the trick pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Adam, we are right about there.
Right on.
Unless anybody else has any more questions at this point.
No,
Bing,
good.
bong, bong, bong.
You
Adam,
just want to adopt us? I mean, that's the question. You could adopt us, right?
You could.
We come with jobs. So
I mean,
it's
I
fine.
want.
You don't
I
have to
prefer him to
provide
be
us.
my brother. I mean, he doesn't have to adopt. Jeez.
I am a value add to your family.
I'll take
Same.
it. Is the value babysitting? Because
Yes.
Yes,
Actually,
I
I
will
bring,
babysit
I
your
also bring an
children.
additional baby. So
Well, being the only one who's in St. Pete, I'm willing. I'm really, actually, seriously would be willing to. We've watched our friends' kids numerous times. So if you ever,
damn you, Brian. Brian wins.
Gosh darn it. Not
So-
getting adopted today.
Adam, any final words of wisdom that you would like to bestow upon our audience?
you know what? I had a whole thing written and I left it in my backpack downstairs.
We to prepare.
you should have put it in a code pen.
Yeah, you know what? If you don't already, get yourself a Codepen account, start noodling around, and start reaching out to the community there. They really have just been rock solid for me, and just a group of awesome people that I have met and networked through that environment. Just a great place. You can go in there with no knowledge whatsoever, and they'll circle around you and help you out. So that's my main recommendation. Integrate yourself with those fine people.
I do have one question about CodePen. Do you have another meetup coming up? When is the next meetup?
I'm working on that. I've just been incredibly busy since the last meetup, so I'm kind of.
Could we just all show up at the Big C office? Just be like, oh, we're here for the meetup.
We're here for Adam. He told us to come by.
Yeah. It'll be happening in the next couple months for sure. So.
Right on.
The folks.
Yeah. We'll definitely tweet that out and get that out to everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Adam,
Thank you.
what's the best way people can get a hold of you? Obviously, we have Cobra Winfrey on Twitter. How
Yep.
else can people get a hold of you?
Cobra Winfrey, also on Codepen, and then you can reach me at adam@bigcdesign.com or bigc.co as we are using now. So either one of those. feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from everybody. If anyone's got, any insights they'd like to share, or anybody wants to just network and join in the coding fun, please let me know.
Great having you on the show.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
Adam,
so awesome.
Thank you so much for being on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, thanks, brother. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoy the experience. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, or Brian will cut your hair. Look at what happened to me. I had beautiful blonde golden locks before the start of the show.
I stole them. That's what happened.
Oh, he gave them to you? He said he would do that. Brian Minton. Sorry, that was random. Anyway, toodles and noodles.
Bye.